Welcome to another episode of AnimeCons TV. My name is Doug Wilder. A few weeks back we had an episode on autographs and what attendees can do to have a better experience when getting autographs at a convention. This is going to be our second part, more geared toward what staff members can do to really make the autograph experience better as well. So if you're an attendee, definitely check out that first episode from a couple weeks back. But this episode is kind of general advice too. So even if you're not staff on a convention, it might be worth checking out. Maybe make some mental notes of things to look for, things like that. And if you are staff, please share, take a look, share this with other staff members that you might know, things like that. First, before I get too far into it, I want to just kind of make a disclaimer that autograph lines and autograph policies and everything like that are always difficult. No convention's ever going to get it 100% perfect. No one's going to be flawless. There's always things that you can make better, things like that. So no one's going to be perfect, but you should always be trying to make things better and learning from past mistakes and things like that. One of the things we always say here at AnimeCons TV that gets really frustrating is when you see a convention making the same mistakes over and over again, year after year. So, learn from mistakes, always make it better, always looking for ways to improve it. So, let's get into it. So, first off, is one things that conventions can do are make your policies clear and available ahead of time. So, first off, put them in, have signage in the autograph area of the policies, put those policies in the program guide that you hand out to every attendee when they come in. Have them easily found and on your convention's website ahead of time so people can find that ahead of time. And as a reminder, a Facebook page does not count as a website. Have a real website. We've talked about this many times before, but it's something that a lot of people don't think about. Have a real website, have those autograph policies on there too. If you have forums, make sure, if you change them or update them, make a post telling people that they've changed and updated and point people back to the website. Next up, don't kind of have one giant line for all guests, even if it's for people picking up tickets for a guest autograph session. This is something that a lot of cons think, this is a great idea, we'll just get it all done in once, and it never works out for one reason or another. And I've seen it doesn't work out well, because so often you'll get someone that they're in line for guest A, they want to see guest A, it's the only person they care about, and 15 people in front of them are in line for guest B or guest C and stuff, and now they're stuck waiting in line for behind people that they don't care about and stuff like that. So split it off, make all these lines separate, don't have one line for everything. It just makes a bottleneck, it adds more people frustrated, things like that. Just don't do it. Have better space out sessions, even if it's just, like I said, even if it's just picking up tickets for a later autograph session. Spread it out. So now you've got your guest autograph area set up. What are the things you can do? Well, have supplies handy. I am always amazed how many conventions don't have the simplest of supplies available for their guest autographs. At the bare minimum, have at least 2 silver and 2 black Sharpie markers available. At the minimum, have 2 of each color. If you have a wider set of colors, cool. The guests can have their pick, but at the minimum, have 2 black, 2 silver Sharpie markers for signing there. Some other things that you can have handy: Post-it notes. We talked about in the previous episode about autographs, giving attendees having Post-it notes for their items. So saying, how to spell their name, or if there's any personalization they want, or things like that, they can write it on there and they're ready to go. So the guests can just look at the Post-it note, boom, ready to go. Makes things faster. Some other supplies you can have is just have a stack of the convention's program guides handy. Some attendees don't know what they want signed, or some guests will might not feel comfortable signing something else. Program guide there, now they have an alternative, things like that. You can also make sure your guests have a couple of bottles of water in case they get thirsty, because they're going to be talking to a lot of attendees. Maybe if the guest has a couple snacks that you've arranged, like granola bars or things like that, something that's easy to eat, that's not messy, just kind of give them a quick energy boost, things like that. You can keep those handy as well. Another good thing to have, those little travel bottles of hand sanitizer, because guests might be shaking a lot of hands, so that's another thing that they can do too. And it's no disrespect meant to the attendees, it's just shaking a lot of hands, germs are going to be passing there, and that can help out there too. So like I said, have those program guests, because one thing you should be doing is making it clear if there are certain things that aren't allowed for autographs. Maybe the guest is promoting a new property that they're working with and they only want to sign things related to that. Maybe they're a musician and they only want to sign like album inserts, they don't want to sign anything else. Make it clear if that's and this is why you have a good communication with your guest ahead of time, that if there's certain things you want, and do that. And this is, again, making sure your attendees know that too, because it's really frustrating if you get in line for a guest, you get to the front of the line, and then you find out, oh, they're only signing this thing, but I only have this. And if you give people enough notice, they can get it ahead of time. Like a good example, I think, is, say, musicians, because a lot of people at anime conventions bring Japanese bands and stuff. Musicians may be only signing their say they're only signing albums of their work. They're not signing like DVDs of the anime that their work appeared in. This gives attendees a chance to say buy it online or find it in the door, or things like that. So just make sure that that's clear. If there's anything they won't sign in advance. Another thing to find out ahead of time is what the photo policy is going to be. Does your guest say, sure, they can come behind, after they get their autograph, they can come behind the table and get a picture? Maybe they can only get a picture if they stay in front of the table. Maybe it's only a picture of the guest signing thing, not with the attendee. Or it could even be no pictures at all. And find out ahead of time, communicate that to your attendees. It sounds like you're going to be dumping a lot of information on these attendees, but the more information you can make people aware of ahead of time, it's going to be a good thing. Related to kind of photos and stuff, is keep the line moving, and don't let things get delayed. I mean, if you have, say, an artist who's doing a sketch every single time, if they've got time and schedule, cool, go for it. But if you're seeing like, oh, we only have an hour and he's done 20 sketches, but we have 50 more people behind them, maybe we need to say, do a smaller sketch, or hey, can you not do any sketches, and things like that. And be aware of that too. Related to that as well, you don't want to overwork your guests. These are human beings that are coming to your convention, providing you programming, helping attract attendees. So you don't want to overwork the guests, but kind of have clear expectations. So one of the ways you can avoid overworking the guest, and this is also a good thing for attendees, is have a good schedule so they aren't rushing either to or from the autograph schedule. Like I'd say have a minimum of a buffer of an hour on either side. That way the guest has time to catch their breath, time to breathe, things like that, relax a little, and they're also not running across the convention site from one area to the other if they're doing multiple things. But an aside to kind of having clear expectations, if you're, say, ticketing autographs, saying, okay, we're going to give 100 tickets for autographs to attendees in line, and anybody after that, maybe they'll get it. If you're giving out 100 tickets, make sure the guest knows that they have the expectation of 100 autographs. And this, I know it sounds like you want to make sure you respect the guest and everything like that and not overwork them. But at the same time, if you're an attendee and say you waited in line to get your ticket, now you're in line with your ticket saying, all right, I'm safe, I've got that autograph now, and all of a sudden you're being told go away because the autograph session is done, even though you had your ticket. first off, that's, really disappointing, because now you feel like you got stiffed on everything. You feel like you wasted your time because you just stood in line for all this stuff to get nothing. But it's kind of insulting, really, that they didn't think your time was valuable. And this is kind of making sure that your schedule's good enough. And that's, again, why you have a buffer before and after, to make sure things start on time and everyone's going to get that autograph. I've seen conventions that have done stuff like, okay, the guest is still signing, we have everyone ticketed, but we need this area for the next autograph session, and they've kind of, okay, the line is now half full, we'll move it over here, we'll move it to another location, we're going to keep everyone in line, but we're going to keep the autograph session going, and that's a good backup plan, because that way those people still get their autographs and no one feels disappointed. I would rather be moved and still get my autograph than get nothing at all. And again, if you have to, speed things up and say, hey, okay, no more sketches, but you can still get the autograph, no more photos, but you can still get the autograph, cool. Because then the attendees, they're still getting their autograph, they're not walking away with nothing. And that's a good thing to do. Next up is make sure all your staff and as many people as possible, but especially people working that area, are informed on things. Make sure they know who these guests are. Like, if you're going to be working the autograph area, learn who these people are, how to pronounce their names, if they're foreign, things like that. Maybe give them a little briefing on stuff they worked in, so they can say, I want the guy who did the voice of whatever character. That way the people know. Things like that. But this is, again, why you don't want to have all your autographs at the same time. But also have your staff informed of the policies, make sure they're aware of it ahead of time, so they can communicate that to the attendees, because attendees inevitably are going to have questions in line like that. That's a good thing. It's also make sure if your staff, you have any convention staff that run an info desk, make sure they're aware of the policies too, because they're going to get a lot of questions like, what are the rules about this, that, and the other? And things like that. And another thing that's good for having a couple extra staff members in the room, and in addition to just kind of managing the line, is staff members can kind of keep an eye out for things that might be not allowed or against the rules. Like, some things I've seen that are really weird, like attendees asking for, like people asking for signatures on kind of dangerous items. Like, I saw one person once asked a voice actor to sign like a shuriken, like a literal shuriken, like, throwing star with sharpened edges and everything, and the guest was a little freaked out because they were actually afraid that they were going to try and like almost cut themselves while trying to sign that, and that's just kind of dangerous. And that would be another one where having a program guide as a backup is a good idea, or also having well known up front that the attendee could try change their plan and get somebody else signed. And another one that we've seen really starting to spike up, and I think it's gonna unfortunately I think this is a problem that's going to get worse before it's going to get better, and there's going to be a horror story down the line, and I hope this doesn't happen to any convention anywhere, because I think it's really attendees asking for kind of inappropriate art to be signed, like usually fan art or doujinshi or things like that, and it's really bad. Like, hey, you voiced this character, here's them in a really inappropriate, lewd, or really graphically violent scene drawn by a fan artist, or the scene in a book or comic book and stuff, and it's really kind of inappropriate and things like that. And it's just like, don't do that. Like, this is, keep an eye on that and kind of talk to the attendee, ask them to have other ideas, other options and stuff like that. And again, this is why you always kind of keep a supply of program guides near the autograph area, because worst case you can say, hey, have a program guide saved. So that's one thing to look out for. And again, I'm really worried that inappropriate pictures are going to be a problem that's going to get worse before it's going to get better. And if the attendee doesn't have an option, you may have to ask them to, give up their autograph, because that's crossing a line, and it's a difficult conversation to have, but it's ultimately being respectful to your guest and everything like that. So, yeah, there we go. And as I said before when we started this episode, no convention's ever going to have autographs perfect. It's something that a lot of people wrestle with and always are trying to find better ideas for it. One of my favorite convention memories was several years ago now. It's been several years since I've gone, but I went to New York Comic-Con, and this autograph session wasn't run by New York Comic-Con itself. It was run by Marvel Comics. At their booth, they had some artists signing things, and they had the line cut off. They said, okay, at the end of this person is the end of the line. If there's time and the artist is willing, any of you guys behind them, you can get your autograph if there's time and the person's willing. But if you're behind this person at the end of the line, we can't guarantee it. If you want to stay, it's at your own risk. And the person that was like end of line cutoff actually got a t-shirt that I think said like end of line nuff said, which was just awesome. So they got kind of a special present. And it let the people behind them, and I was one of those people behind that person, that hey, there's no guarantee, it's at your own risk. Expectations were cool. I loved it. I said I was like 2 or 3 people behind it. I said I'm gonna wait, and I looked out. But it was a really cool way to say, hey, there's still a chance, but we're not going to make you a promise because we could say no. And you still had that quota, but you still had a chance of hope. So that was really so that's that. Everything there. Once again, autographs is something no convention gets right. So if you have any thoughts on what conventions can do to make guest autographs better, send us some feedback. You can email us at podcast@animecons.tv, so leave us a voicemail at 762-ADEQUATE, comment on this post, send us a tweet. We have lots of ways to get in touch with us. We'd love to hear your guys' ideas. Send it our way. And once again, I'm Doug Wilder, and we'll see you guys in the next episode of AnimeCons TV. Have a good one.